This video is about an editor that you will be able to use on the student machine to create files. For us, that means Java programs. The name of the editor is Vim. Vim is a text editor, which means you use it the way that you use Notepad on a Windows machine to type files of text. And Java programs are nothing more than text. Vim was created by Bram Moolenaar in 1991, and it's based on an old editor, the VI editor. VI was a short name for visual. Both VI and Vim were designed to be used on machines or on terminals where there was no mouse. When VI was created, mice had not been invented. You can get a version of Vim to run on a Windows machine. It's called GVim, and it will let you click on some menu items to issue input, but if you're a true VI user, you never do that because you're so used to doing without a mouse. When you're running the student machine through PuTTY, there's no mouse input at all. You're restricted to just typing commands in the PuTTY window and having those commands be run by the student machine. And this editor Vim is going to operate in that same way. In other words, the interface that you have for the student machine is not a GUI. It is not a graphical user interface. Vim is a moded editor. It runs in one of two modes all the time, either command mode or input mode. When it's in command mode, any character that you press on the keyboard is a command that the editor interprets to change its behavior. When it's in input mode, the characters you type become part of the file that you're creating. So you constantly have to keep in your head what mode you're in. It's easy to go between modes. There are several commands that cause you to leave command mode and go into input mode, little I, little o, big O, little a, big A, and others. The difference in their behaviors is where the cursor gets placed in your file for the beginning of input. If you're in input mode and you want to go back to command mode, then you just press the escape key. To move around in the file, you can use arrow keys, but true VI and Vim users don't do that because Vim was designed for typists who didn't want to move their fingers off the home keys. Thus, some of the characters, when you're in command mode, move the cursor. H, J, K, and L are right in a row, and they move the cursor left, down, up, and right. Backspace, enter, the minus character, and the spacebar also move the cursor left, down, up, and right. And there are larger movements possible. To move a word at a time, use W to go left to right and B to go right to left. You can move the cursor to the beginning of the line that you're currently on with a 0. Remember, you have to be in command mode. Or with a $sign, you can go to the end, the right-hand end of the current line. Capital G will let you go to any line you want. Capital G by itself will go to the end of the file. But if you put a number in front of that G, like 1G, then it goes to line 1. 14G goes to line 14. Now, you might think, why in the world would I ever want to do that? But when you compile a Java program and you get errors, those errors, the error messages tell you what line the error is on. So it's really convenient to be able to go directly to a specific line. Now let's take a break from the PowerPoint and go play with Vim on the student machine through PuTTY. First, I'd like to call your attention to this source code link that I put on our As You Learn page. If you click this, you will be allowed to download a complete zip file of all of the programs that the author has used as examples in the textbook. If you unzip that, you'll see a list of all the various chapters. The rest of the chapters are in another group, and each chapter has all of the programs that he used in that chapter. So I'm going to copy one of these programs. Let's see, I'll use this one, pet food. Sounds interesting. I'll highlight all this text and use Control-C to copy it. It's not at all important that you understand what's going on here. When you get to Chapter 3, you'll understand it, but right now I just want to play with the editor. So let me start up PuTTY. Alright, I'm going to make a folder for this exercise that we are doing. I'll call it Learning Vim. So make dir Learning Vim. Notice I didn't put a space there, but I did use camel case, which means if there's two words glued together, you capitalize the first letter of all words other than the first one. It's not a good idea to put spaces in file or folder names on a Unix machine, because ever after you have to double quote the thing when you refer to it by that name. So now I'll change into my Learning Vim folder, and I'll be ready to make a file. In Java, it is important that the file be named the exact same name as the name of the class. In this Java program, the class name is pet food. And so when I make my file, I have to call it pet food, spelled exactly that way with a capital P and a capital F, .java. So I'll type vim petfood.java and press enter. And I've been placed into the Vim editor. If I want to go into insert mode, I can do that with one of those characters, I, O, big O, little a, big A. I'll use I because I want to show you that Vim is helpful. It tells you what mode you're in. Here, if you're in insert mode, it says so. If you're not, it doesn't say so. Now, I want to show you what happens when you try to paste something into a Vim file without setting the paste flag. So I'm in insert mode. I've copied the program over here onto the Windows clipboard. All you have to do to paste in PuTTY is right-click your mouse. That's the only thing that the mouse is useful for in PuTTY. But watch what happens when I right-click. Now I'm going to hit escape, and I'm going to start going up in this file. And look at this. Every line got tabbed over more and more and more and more. It's a big, huge mess. And that's what happens if you don't set the paste flag. Now there's a wonderful command that you need to remember. It's U for undo. So I'm going to press U. And let's try this again. Before I paste, before I enter insert mode to paste, I need to hit the colon key, which will transfer my cursor to the bottom of the screen. These are special commands, the colon commands. They are commands like save the file, which in the Vim world is called writing the file. These commands include searching and replacing. They include reading the contents of a file into Vim. And they also include setting flags. The one I want to set right now is called paste. So you type colon, set, space, paste, and then you hit enter. Now let's go into insert mode with a little I and right-click the mouse, and the file pastes beautifully the way we want it to. Now I'll hit escape to go into command mode again. Let's move around in this file. Remember the capital G? If I hit one capital G, I go to the top of the file. If I hit plain old capital G, I go to the bottom. Let's try the H, J, K, and L keys. I'm all the way at the left right now, so I can't use H to go any more left, and I probably can't use L to go any more right. No, if I try, I get that beep because there's no more characters to the right of this one. Let's use K to go up, and J to go down, L to go to the right. Up here I can do it. Once I get to the end, it'll beep. I can use H now to go left. That's how I move around in a file. W goes one word at a time through your file, and it will go from one line to another. Notice that the definition of word is a little strange. You have to get used to that. B does the same thing, but it goes backward. word at a time. Let's go back to the top of the file with 1G. There are a couple more movement commands that come in handy, and they involve the Control key. Control F goes forward a block at a time. This program is so short that a block takes up the whole thing. Control B goes backward a block at a time. Now let's go back to the PowerPoint and learn some more things, and then we'll come back here and play some more. Suppose we want to modify that pet food file. Then we're going to need to type some words into the file, so we're going to need to enter insert mode. There are various ways to do that. These are some of those ways, the most common ones. If you hit little I, you go into insert mode with the cursor where the new stuff is going to be typed just to the left of the character the cursor was on when you hit the I. Little a will put the cursor just to the right of the current character. A stands for the word append. I stands for the word insert. Capital A also appends, but it will jump all the way to the end of the current line and let you start typing right there. Little o will give you a brand new line below the line that you're on when you hit O, and also put you into insert mode with the cursor at the very left of the new line. Capital O does a similar thing, but the new line will be above the current line. Let me show you these things. Here we are back in our PuTTY window. The file is still in the Vim editor. Let's go into insert mode right where the cursor is now on that first character of the file, the little I there. I'm going to use the little I to go into insert mode and watch where my new text that I type goes. I type the little I. You notice it says insert now at the bottom of the PuTTY window, and if I type the new characters, those X's go to the left of the I that my cursor was on when I went into insert mode. Now I'm going to hit escape and hit U to undo that. I'm back in command mode. This time I'm going to use the A, the little a, to go into insert mode. I'm in insert mode. Look at the bottom of the screen. The characters I typed go just to the right of the little I that I was on when I typed that little a. Hit escape and hit U to undo that. Now I'm going to enter insert mode with a capital A. I'm in insert mode. You can see at the bottom of the screen, and the characters that I type, there was a lag there. I thought nothing was happening. Sometimes you get a lag when you are dealing with a machine across the internet because there's traffic on the internet, and that happens. Alright, so you see where those X's went. They were at the end of the line. Hit escape, hit U. Oh, I made some D's and some S's happen there too. Alright, so we've done little I, put new characters to the left. Little a puts new characters to the right of wherever you are when you hit that letter. Big A puts new characters at the end of the line. Let's use little o. Now, from anywhere on the line, the same exact thing will happen. It does not matter where on this line I am when I type little o. It opens up a new line of text, puts me in insert mode, and whatever I type goes on that new line of text. Hit escape, hit U. If I use big O instead of little o, the new line goes above the current line. And again, that works from anywhere on the current line. Big O, little o doesn't matter what character you're on, it's what line you're on that counts. So I'll hit escape. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. This slide has to do with changing words that are already in the file. X is like an erase. It deletes whatever character the cursor is on when you type X. It does not leave you in input mode. It just deletes that one character. But you can put a number in front of X. For example, if you said 5X, it will delete 5 characters. R lets you replace the character you're on when you type the R with another character. So let's say you saw that you had typed a C and you really meant to type a D. You'd put your cursor on the C, hit R, and then hit D, and that D will replace the C. It will not leave you in input mode. The tilde key is quite useful for changing from upper to lowercase or vice versa. I'll show you that in just a moment. DW and CW are 2-letter commands that let you work with an entire word. If your cursor is at the beginning of a word and you type DW, that entire word is deleted. Now, we are using Vim's definition of word here, and again, you have to get used to that. If you only wanted to delete the second part of a word, just put your cursor on the first character that you want to go away and do DW. CW will take the word away but put you in input mode so that you type the word you want to replace it with and then you hit escape, so it lets you do a substitution of one word for another. You can also edit entire lines. If you're anywhere on a line and you hit DD, the whole line gets deleted. CC takes the line away but puts you into input mode so that you can change the line. YY yanks that line into a storage buffer. It's like a copy. It copies that line into something similar to a clipboard. You can then move your cursor to a new place in the file and use either little p or big P to put the contents of the buffer back into the file. Little p puts the new stuff or the copied stuff below the current line, and big P puts it above. And those commands can be preceded by a count. So let's say you had a whole paragraph or a whole Java method that you wanted to move somewhere else. You could put your cursor at the beginning of that method, say it's 10 lines long, do a 10 DD. Oh, and by the way, the DD not only deletes, but it also copies that stuff that got deleted into the storage buffer. So you would do 10 DD, move your cursor to the place you want to put that method, and then do a P, and out comes the method that you've moved. Now let's go play. Play with X and delete some characters. Let's delete this word import one letter at a time. Hitting X. Do a U and more U's, and we'll get all the way back to the place we were before we deleted those letters. Let's change food to mood. We'll put the cursor on F. Let's hit R. Doesn't look like anything happened, but if I now hit M, that M replaces the F that was there under the cursor when I hit R, and I am not in input mode. I'm still in command mode. Now let's play with this tilde. It's the key to the left of the 1 up on the top row of the keyboard, and you have to hold down Shift to do it. Any character that you are on when you hit that tilde gets made uppercase. If I go back, I'll use H to move back, and I do that again, they'll go back to lowercase. Now notice, I'll keep going. Nothing will happen to the space or the plus because they're not letters. Only letters are going to get case changes from tilde. Now let me show you what DW and CW do. DW deletes a whole word. So if I put my cursor on the beginning of this word and I type DW, that entire word is gone. Let me type U to put it back. If I type CW, the word's gone, but look at the bottom of the screen. I'm in insert mode, and whatever I type here takes the place of that original word. I have to hit escape to leave insert mode. And now I'll hit U to undo that. Suppose I want to delete an entire line. I'll delete this comment. I can be anywhere on this line at all and type DD, and the line is deleted. If I move my cursor and then do a P, that line is put back into the file. I'll delete it again and go put it where it was originally. This time I'll use an uppercase P, and it puts it above the line I'm on when I type the uppercase P. Let's change a line. If I use CC, the line goes away, but whatever I type takes the place of it. Hit Escape, hit U to undo that. Now let's do a yank. I will do a YY. Doesn't matter where on this line my cursor is. YY. Down at the bottom of the screen it says one line yanked. And if I move my cursor and then do a P, I can put that line. I can keep putting that line as many times as I want. Uppercase P, lowercase p, whatever. Now I'm in command mode, so undos will work. I'm just going to undo my way back out of there. I'll put that line back. Notice that you can yank more than one line. I could yank this entire switch statement that goes from here all the way down to here if I count lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. If I say 17 YY, or I could have done DD, that's now in the buffer. I can go where I'd like to put that and do a P and put it out. We're almost finished talking about Vim, but we need to know how to save the file that we've worked so hard on. That's a colon command, so you need to be in command mode and type :W in order to write the file to the file system. In other words, to save it. Plain :W will save the file by the name that you used when you first opened up the file, but you can save it under a different name just by saying :W and typing the new name. To leave the editor, quit, you just type :Q. You can combine writing and quitting, as I often do, and type :WQ. However, Vim is not going to let you quit unless you have saved the file after you made the last change, unless you get very insistent with Vim and add this exclamation mark after the Q. And finally, there's just some oddball things that I thought I'd throw in here because they come in handy sometimes. A J command lets you join lines together. Remember the X that deletes one character? Well, if you combine that with an immediate P, so that you have your cursor on a character and you hit X and then you do P, it puts the character to the right of where you are, and it in effect transposes two characters in your file. And a very useful thing is the dot command that repeats the very last thing that you did. So let's save this file. I'm in command mode. I type : my cursor jumps to the bottom of the screen, and I type W and hit enter. And it tells me that it wrote the file. The file is 45 lines long, 1,209 characters, and that's its name. Now if I want to change the name of the file, I type : W, and I'll call it cat food. Now this would be an error because I told you that you have to name the file the same name as the class, and it should be pet food, but I'm just illustrating things that you can do here. So now the file same size, but it's called cat food. Let me make a change to the file. I'll delete that letter, and then I'll try to quit. Q, enter, and it won't let me. It says that I have not written the file since I made the last change, and I have to add an exclamation mark, which is also called a bang, or some people call it a damn it. If I add that, it will let me quit. But before I quit, I want to show you those extra few little things. Alright, now I'll do a U to undo that deletion that I made. And I want to show you how to join two lines together. I'll put my cursor on this line and hit a capital J, and I have joined those two lines together. Let me show you how to transpose two characters. I'll transpose this E and T right here in pet. First I'll hit X, it deletes the E, then I hit P, and it puts the E back out to the right of the character that the cursor was then on. One more time, XP, and it transposes two characters. Normally P puts a whole line out, but that's after you have executed a copy or a delete of a whole line, and then it's got a whole line. It knows it's a whole line and it'll put a whole line, but if you just do one letter, then it just puts one letter. And the very last thing was that dot command. Now that is a very handy thing. Let's say that this variable keyboard, I'd like to change its name. So I'm going to put my cursor at the beginning of it and do a CW, and I'm just going to call it KB and then hit escape. Now watch what happens when I find this next keyboard and I just hit dot. Automatically does the whole thing for me. Did the CW and the replacement, and it's wonderful. Don't forget that one. It comes in mighty handy. Alright, one last thing to do, and that is to quit. Let's see if it will let us quit right now without a bang. No. So if we want to quit right now and not save the last things we've done, then we would have to type :Q and the exclamation mark, and now it let us quit. And that's all.